Coming up on Cronkite News, people across the country are putting pressure on legislators for gun reform, including here in Arizona.
Plus, should parents be allowed to sue over social media addiction? A new bill in California could do just that.
And later, the National Spelling Bee is underway. We'll have the latest on one Arizona sixth grader who's getting all of the letters right so far.
Cronkite News starts now.
Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News on Arizona PBS. I'm Jessica Herrera.
And I'm Nikita Chaturvedi. Thank you for joining us. In the wake of the Texas school shooting, Democrats and grassroots groups in Arizona are trying to bring attention to gun reform efforts. Rachel Fortunato tells us what they hope to achieve.
Laws in Arizona to restrict guns are rare. In fact, this year, 2 proposals to loosen gun laws were passed by the State House of Representatives. But new efforts by some lawmakers and groups like March for Our Lives are trying to change the tide of gun reform in the state. Using graphic visuals of fake body bags with red paint, the group March for Our Lives held a press conference today. The student organization said they want real change in Arizona.
Today we're calling on both chambers, as well as Governor Ducey, to have the smallest ounce of courage and take some action. Let's work together to implement universal background checks and to keep guns out of the hands of dangerous people.
In addition, they want to implement proposals from the Department of Education School Safety Plan to keep schools safe. The Superintendent of Public Instruction, Kathy Hoffman, says the School Safety Task Force has a number of proposals they want the legislature to fund.
The task force also called for the state legislature to fully fund resources like the School Safety Grant Program, which had been expanded to include school counselors and social workers.
Earlier in the week, Democrats forced a vote on the gun reform bill on the Senate floor. Senator Martin Quesada explained the bill was a common-sense measure.
It was the gun show, and private sale loophole. It would require individuals who purchase a firearm to go through a background check.
The bill failed in a 16-13 vote, along party lines, with many Republicans saying it would impact private property and other constitutional rights.
Called the Second Amendment. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed.
But the student organizers of the March for Our Lives say their rights are also in jeopardy as they face guns in classrooms. The March for Our Lives organizers say they will hold a rally at the state capitol on the evening of June 11th in solidarity with other marches across the country, including D.C. In the newsroom, Rachel Fortunato, Cronkite News.
If you're like me, you've probably been thinking you're seeing help wanted signs everywhere you look. And according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, you wouldn't necessarily be wrong. There were 11.4 million jobs advertised in April, which is a small drop from March. But that number is still among the highest the job numbers have been in 20 years. The labor report says that there's 2 jobs for every person. So while there has been a drop, it's still a huge change from before the pandemic.
Common Sense Media, a San Francisco organization with offices here in Phoenix, is sponsoring a bill in the California legislature that would allow parents to sue social media companies over their child's social media addiction. Reporters Emily Miranda talks with parents and the policymaker, who says it could have implications for the entire country.
Michaela Medell is just 10 years old. Her mom limits her to less than an hour per day on platforms such as YouTube. According to Common Sense Media, 38% of tweens ages 8 to 12 use social media. Adriana Medell is a single mother who works full-time and says it is her role to monitor her daughter's social media usage.
I don't agree with the bill. I think it's really up to the parents to monitor their children's social media accounts.
Yet some advocates like Common Sense Media say social media companies know how to target kids in a way parents cannot stop.
The reality here is that social media can enter a room where parents can't see into. It's not something that we can stop at the door and say, hey, you're not allowed to enter my house.
A bill moving through the California legislature, AB 2408, creates an accountability standard for social media companies. Parents who prove their child is addicted can sue for up to $25,000 per violation. While advocates such as Common Sense Media are ready to hold social media platforms accountable. Companies like TechNet and Chamber of Progress argue that kids under 18 would no longer have access to important online support networks. What they're saying is that teenagers won't be able to spend time with their friends and peers, one of the few solaces during the pandemic. But Medell says her daughter experienced bullying for the first time, and she says lawmakers need to focus on content, not screen time.
Just become really something that's, in my opinion, something that's a really dark place for kids, and I do feel like something needs to happen.
Dion believes other states may follow with similar legislation.
If California can protect its kids, I think other states will have to ask themselves, why don't our kids deserve the same level of protection?
In Los Angeles, Emily Miranda, Cronkite News.
The bill gives companies an option to avoid the courts. They must maintain quarterly audits to evaluate their practices. If practices potentially cause addiction, they must be fixed within 30 days. June 15th will mark a decade since the DACA program was put into effect. Hundreds of thousands of people who were brought to the U.S. as children have been able to receive temporary protections thanks to the DACA program. But these protections only apply to people who were brought into the country on or before June 15th, 2007. According to an advocacy group, FWD.US, an estimated 100,000 high school graduates this year won't receive DACA protections. Graduates in Arizona are also unable to receive in-state tuition, thanks to a bill passed in 2006. A measure on the ballot this year is presenting Arizona voters the opportunity to overturn this.
A lot of things changed during the pandemic, none more so than tourism, but some things at least are going back to normal. Alexia Stanbridge in our DC bureau has more.
There's a lot to see in Washington, but for the past 2 years, one of its highlights, the United States Capitol itself, has been off limits. But that changed just in time for some lucky Arizonans.
We're excited and happy that it's finally back open to the public.
COVID was the first hit to Capitol tourism, followed by last year's attack on the Capitol itself. And when tours finally began again, they had to be arranged through a congressional office. This group of 15 Arizonans applied right as Congressman Greg Stanton's office was resuming tours.
About a week before our tour, like, wait, this would be really cool if we could do this. Saw that it was open again, emailed our congressman, and we were able to get in.
Tourists aren't the only ones who are happy about the reopening of the Capitol. It means a lot for the city's tourism industry as well.
The Capitol building reopening is really a part of the experience for so many people that are coming to Washington.
Ferguson says domestic travel is saving a lot of major cities like D.C. Tourism was worth $8 billion to Washington in 2019 and supported about 80,000 jobs, he says. While the pandemic took a toll on the industry, Ferguson says things are looking good.
Where we are today versus 2 years ago and a year ago, a lot of optimism in Washington, D.C.
After their tour, the group was not disappointed.
The highlight for sure. And we've done a lot of stuff here. This was my favorite by far.
Scott Smith, who booked a tour through Congressman Tom O'Halloran's office, said he agrees, even though things are a little different than the last time he visited.
And it's a little bit more restricted now, so we were just really honored to be able to get a tour through the Congressman's office.
The tourist I spoke with said it's important to contact your representative early because this is a tour you don't want to miss.
I would say even if you're not into politics, I think it's just the art, the statues, just a little history. I think it's beautiful.
The Capitol is not the only place off limits to tourists. The White House was closed too, but tourists can now book tours there too through the representative's office. In Washington, Alexia Stanbridge, Cronkite News.
While most of Washington is welcoming visitors again, not everything's open. The Smithsonian's popular Air and Space Museum is closed this summer, not for COVID, but for a $250 million renovation. It's set to reopen in the fall.
Coming up after the break, how do you spell success? One Arizona student is spelling her way through the National Spelling Bee. We'll introduce her to you.
Want free pizza and tickets to watch the Mercury? All you have to do is open a few books. We'll have the details coming up.
And that's the way it is. Monday, September.
Newscasting has changed a lot since the time of Walter Cronkite. That's why here at the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism, you can learn the studio production skills of today in real time. Whether you want to work audio, direct, technical direct, design graphics, or you can even run the floor. It's all part of the Television Production and Graphics Lab here at the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism. We're going on in 3, 2...
Did you know newsrooms today are looking for bilingual journalists? Cronkite Noticias prepares you to cover diverse communities. In Cronkite Noticias, you will obtain an unforgettable experience.
Pales como este van a tumbar.
Cronkite Noticias.
And develop your skills with the latest technology.
Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communications Phoenix Sports Bureau provides students with hands-on learning experiences and opportunities in sports journalism. From covering local high schools, colleges, and the pros, students get the opportunity to go live from our Facebook shows covering local, collegiate, and pro sports in the Valley. From digital reporting, broadcast, social media, and producing, there's opportunities for all. For more, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.
It's LGBTQ+ Pride Month, and we here at Cronkite News want to celebrate with you. So we're going to talk a little about how Pride Month started. June 28th will mark the 53rd anniversary of the Stonewall Uprising. In 1969 in New York, being gay was a crime, and so gay people gathered in secret at bars owned by the mafia. It was a common occurrence for Stonewall and other gay bars to be raided. But the constant harassment made tensions boil over, and Stonewall patrons fought back for 5 days straight. Stonewall didn't start the gay rights movement, it amplified it. And the following year, in 1970, was America's first gay pride parade, named at the time Christopher Street Liberation Day. Named so for the street Stonewall Inn is on.
Do you know how to spell definitely? You might not, but a 6th grader from Prescott definitely does. And she's spelling herself closer and closer to victory. Daisy Gonzalez Perez in our DC Bureau has more.
Aaliyah Alford spends hours a day studying for the last 4 years to get here, the Scripps National Spelling Bee in Washington, D.C.
For the last few months, I've been doing one-on-one quizzing with my dad, about 3 hours a day of that, because we had to finish a list in a certain amount of time.
That work paid off. After 2 days of competition this week, Aaliyah has been able to advance to tonight's semifinals. But it hasn't been easy.
Contain the Greek root dis meaning abnormal?
Yes.
Dyspathy. D-Y-S-P-A-T-H-Y. Dyspathy.
Congrats, Aaliyah. That is correct.
It was no surprise to Brenda Alpert, who said Aaliyah has been working hard with her dad to get ready.
Her dad has been the more day-to-day, what would you call it? I guess unofficial spelling coach or slave driver.
After spelling nuciform and defining mullinger on Tuesday, 11-year-old Aaliyah spelled crupus this morning to make it to the semifinals. One of just 48 remaining from the original 229 contestants, organizers praised her poise.
And she has appeared very confident, yeah.
The Prescott homeschooler who beat out 26 other students in the state competition to get here is not sure she'll be back next year, but she does have advice for future spelling bee competitors.
Study hard and take your time more than I did because I was hurting, which I shouldn't have.
Leah is the only speller from Arizona, but she said she is excited to represent Arizona for as long as she can. At National Harbor in Maryland, Daisy Gonzalez Perez for Cronkite News.
Since Daisy filed that report, Aaliyah has made it through the first 2 rounds of the semifinals by correctly spelling Osmark and defining Verklempt. If she makes it through tonight, she'll be in the finals tomorrow, and we'll be watching. School may be over, but Maricopa County libraries want to keep noses buried in the books. The Maricopa County Summer Reading Program starts today and goes through August 1st and is open to all ages. The library officials say summer break sees many kids experiencing a learning loss, but studies show that reading 20 minutes a day can help kids from falling behind. Readers are rewarded with points that can be turned into fun prizes like free pizza, Phoenix Mercury tickets, or a free book. The program has a goal of 75,000 participants this year.
Triple digits are back in the forecast. Rachel Fortunato is in the Cronkite News Weather Center with a look at how high those temps are expected to go.
Arizona's going to stay pretty hot and dry this week, but we might get some light clouds in Flagstaff and Phoenix from the storms going straight past us in the north. Our high temperatures on this side of the country, we're going to be at about 104 in Phoenix, head a little north and get 99 in Las Vegas, but if you're really looking for some nice cool weather, you're going to go to San Diego, where it's about to be 68 degrees, and Los Angeles, where it's going to be about 72. Looking at our high temperatures just in Arizona, we're going to be about 104 in Phoenix, Yuma, and Bullhead City. Go slightly north and get 90 in Sedona. But if you're really looking for some nice cool weather to cool off with, you're going to be about 79 in Flagstaff. Our evening tonight, we're looking at about 98 about 6 p.m. We're going to keep cooling down until we get to that 87 at 10. You're probably going to want to wait until about 8 or 9 to go out tonight to walk that dog, take a quick walk around the neighborhood, where it's going to be in the low 90s. Looking at the rest of our week, it's going to be 104 Friday with some light cloud coverage. We're going to get it slightly cooler, about 2 degrees, at 102 on Saturday with that bright sun coming back. Sunday's going to give us a little more coverage from those clouds. The rest of the week is looking pretty sunny until we hit our high about 108 on Thursday. Be a great weekend to maybe take a dip in that pool to cool off. From the Weather Center, I'm Rachel Fortunato.
I'm Ethan Ryder. Coming up after the break, I'll have your Cronkite Sports Report. We'll take you to Greyhawk Golf Club in Scottsdale, where the ASU men's golf team is teeing it up for the NCAA title. The championship match up next.
What you get from Washington Week that you will not get anywhere else are the best and the brightest reporters from different media companies, and they're able to have a real conversation about things that are happening in Washington and around the country. But it's also a show about issues that are relevant to different communities. How do you think that, as the moderator, I feel this deep responsibility to bring in those other perspectives so that people understand how power and politics impact their daily lives.
Friday nights at 7 on Arizona PBS.
Hey, I'm Rick Steves. You know, I don't go anywhere without my passport. And now, thanks to PBS Passport, you can travel with me and watch all 10 seasons of Rick Steves Europe and all my travel specials. This exclusive streaming service is just for our members. Not only can you see all my shows, but you can see thousands of hours of your favorite public television shows. Become a member today and get your passport.
Welcome back to Cronkite News. I'm Ethan Ryder, and this is your Cronkite Sports Report. Fourth-ranked ASU was expected to do well in the NCAA men's golf tournament, but few thought they would make it to the finals. Now the Sun Devils find themselves vying for a national championship as they teed off against Texas today for the title. Let's head out to Greyhawk Golf Club in Scottsdale, where Cronkite News reporter Kyle Betts has more on the Sun Devils' improbable run.
ASU and Texas are currently neck and neck at the NCAA Men's Golf National Championship here at Greyhawk Golf Club. It's been an exhilarating past few days. For ASU, they've had to overcome some deficits, and their own Cameron Sisk tied for 5th individually. But what's been key for them has been their clutch performances.
ASU opened quarterfinal match play against the country's #1 team in Oklahoma. With the match tied at 2, the 7-seed Sun Devils were able to capitalize. Cameron Sisk drained this birdie on number 19 to advance to the semifinals.
And I had a really, really good putt, and yeah, to see that, curl around the lip and go in, it was so awesome.
After Tuesday's early win over the Sooners, the Sun Devils prepared for their second round of the day, this time against defending national champion Pepperdine. With Preston Summerhays and David Puig securing wins for the Sun Devils, fifth-year senior Mason Anderson needed to win yet another playoff hole to send ASU to the championship match.
Special. It's something you think about all year long. So, yeah, it's really special to be one win away from national championship.
Sun Devil and Longhorn golfers have been battling triple-digit temperatures all week long, but so have the fans. They've been out here all week to show their support. You can continue to follow the competition here and the winner at Sports Cronkite on Twitter. In Scottsdale, Kyle Betts, Cronkite News.
ASU has been masterful on the greens. Players have made a combined 52 birdies overall, with Mason Anderson tied for first in the tournament with 12 birdies. Preston Summerhays sits at third overall with 11, and Cameron Sisk is 13th with 6 overall. In the WNBA, the Mercury were in Chicago last night to face the Sky in a rematch of the 2021 finals, but came up short in their revenge bid after losing their leader. Tina Charles had a team-high 25 points, while Shea Petty had 3 points and 3 assists in her return from a back injury. But Diana Taurasi was ejected in the second quarter after confronting a referee about what she thought was a missed foul call. Mercury head coach Vanessa Nygaard said it was a terrible no call since Taurasi was bleeding from the contact. A lot of drama in the Mercury game and a close one in Los Angeles as the Sparks just beat Dallas by 2 points last night. Liz Cambage is arguably the most physically imposing player in the WNBA, and her personality is as big as her stature. Cronkite News reporter Liam Barrett is in our Los Angeles bureau with more on the Sparks Center.
6'8" Liz Cambage has a huge presence on and off the court. She's gotten attention for her modeling career and her outspoken personality. And that personality hasn't changed since her arrival in Los Angeles.
The space to go and drive. We have shooters on the perimeter who knock down shots. We got Liz in the we got Liz in the paint. We got Nick. We have pieces to where we have to keep you honest on defense.
The big personality keeps her in the public eye, good and bad. Cambage was caught on video elbowing a Nigerian national team player almost a year ago. She's also accused of using a racial slur during that incident. Recently, she took to Instagram to respond, saying she did not use a racial slur and has handled the situation privately. This is the first time Cambage has been under fire since coming to Los Angeles. She's still seemingly enjoying her time with her new team.
Tomorrow's our first day off, where I don't have to see anyone. What am I gonna do?
Don't even FaceTime me.
A larger-than-life personality has its pros and cons. So far, the pros seem to be worth it for the Sparks. In Los Angeles, Liam Barrett, Cronkite News.
The Cardinals began the second round of organized team activities today, and fans can breathe easier knowing Kyler Murray was there. Murray has been on hand at the Tempe training facility for the last 2 days, perhaps showing good faith amid his contract dispute. The quarterback skipped the first round of OTAs. It's not clear how much he'll participate this week, but it's a good sign to see him back with the team.
I just walked by the team room and he's leading 7-on-7 film work. So he's putting in the work. It's been a maturation process, like I've said this entire offseason, and he's continuing to get better and he's continuing to mature. And I think when you look at somebody who you want to see progress week in and week out, year in and year out,
That's all for today's Cronkite Sports Report. Back to you, Jessica.
If you're having a rough day, you're going to want to stick around. Because one anniversary party has gone to the dogs, cats, and dogs that is. We'll tell you more next.
And that's the way it is. Monday, September.
Newscasting has changed a lot since the time of Walter Cronkite. That's why here at the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism, you can learn the studio production skills of today in real time. Whether you want to work audio, direct, technical direct, design graphics, or you can even run the floor. It's all part of the Television Production and Graphics Lab here at the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism. We're going on in 3, 2...
Did you know newsrooms today are looking for bilingual journalists?
Cronkite Noticias prepares you to cover diverse communities. In Cronkite Noticias, you will obtain an unforgettable experience.
Nopales como este van a tumbar.
Cronkite Noticias.
And develop your skills with the latest technology.
Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communication's Phoenix Sports Bureau provides students with hands-on learning experiences and opportunities in sports journalism. From covering local high schools, colleges, and the pros, students get the opportunity to go live from our Facebook shows covering local, collegiate, and pro sports in the Valley. From digital reporting, broadcast, social media, and producing, there's opportunities for all. For more, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.
Who let the dogs out? The Arizona Humane Society is letting the dogs out. If you're looking for a new furry friend to bring home, then head on down to the Arizona Humane Society. In honor of its South Mountain campus's 20th anniversary, the shelter is waiving all adoption fees until Tuesday, June 7th. The adoption fee waiver was made possible due to longtime donors Stuart and Ted Tufte. Potential fur parents can find their new best friend at any of the Arizona Humane Society locations.
That's it for Cronkite News tonight. Thanks for joining us. For top Arizona stories anytime, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.